Oh boy, do we have an exciting video for all Tesla stock investors. Here in this video, I will explain the precise moment when Wall Street will finally realize the gravity of the bull situation for Tesla, aka the ChatGPT moment that still has not happened for Tesla. I know a lot of people think Tesla's ran from $200 up to $480, almost $490, back down to the $370s, back up again to $400 today, or damn near $400, that the ChatGPT moment has happened. It has not happened yet. And there's a very specific moment I think it will happen. And between now and then, I want to accumulate as many shares of Tesla as I possibly can. With that said, there is 3 distinct risk catalysts for next year. I will explain those as well here in this video. And if I'm concerned about one more than the other, let's call it. Because even though I'm bullish, you're probably bullish. I mean, that's precisely when you want to be thinking about the risk catalyst. When everyone's bearish, that's not really when you got to worry too much about the risks out there, okay? You gotta always consider the risks, but if everyone's bearish, Tesla stock's $130 per share like it was back in, early 2024? Like, that's not the time to be super concerned about, the negatives, right? At that point, they're pretty firmly priced in. Today at 400, they're not as firmly priced in. So you want to be a little bit more open-minded to potential risks. Although I don't think it's something to be concerned with, I feel obligated to talk about the risks because, I don't know what kind of financial situation you're in. Maybe you're gambling. I don't know. So we're going to talk about it here in this video. Now, first and foremost, if you are new to the channel or you don't know what has happened recently to Tesla stock, there was a bit of a setback with Tesla's deliveries. They came in about 2% lower than general analyst consensus were expecting. Here's the deal though. Deliveries are not really that important for 2025. Like, yeah, sure, they're important. Wall Street is expecting between 20 and 30% growth next year because of the guidance that Elon gave on the last earnings call. That it is important to a certain extent. The larger picture, though, is AI, robotics, energy generation and storage. Tesla is literally doubling their energy generation and storage business, which is the highest margin business for Tesla. Besides FSD, we don't get a breakdown of those margins. So of the margin outlook, we do get a breakdown for energy generation and storage is the largest component of that. Now, that new factory over in Shanghai, the Megapack factory, goes online and is starting production now. It's more of a trial run production. Production will really ramp throughout next year. Or this year. So by the end of 2025, I'm still in 2024 mentality. By the end of 2025, you're going to see some big numbers from that energy generation and storage business. That's a lesser part of the bull thesis, but I think it's part of it nonetheless for next year because of the multi-decades of growth that you are likely to see in that component of Tesla's business. But that is not the big AI moment for Tesla. Now, there could be 2 big AI moments. And the first one's going to happen most certainly before the next one. The first one is Robotaxi. Okay. There's a lot of people on Wall Street that still don't think, and I'm talking analysts, that Robotaxi is going to come in 2025. And even more people think it's going to be a very slow rollout, that it's going to be like a Waymo's rollout, where it just goes to select cities and it's kind of this strenuous process to get Robotaxi in different cities. Okay. I've talked about this for literally years on this channel now at this point. The differentiator between Tesla and Waymo in terms of scaling Robotaxi is massive. Okay, there's obviously a big difference between how their softwares operate and the logistical aspect of of that, or technical aspect of that, obviously. But the way that Tesla will be able to launch, if all goes well, is going to be dramatically faster than anything you have seen with Waymo. And this new ChatGPT moment, if you will, for Tesla, this new big AI moment, is really going to catch a lot of people by surprise. They're going to have to start saying, wow, this is actually here. The opportunity to this. What could this look like years down the line? That's the part that we have not really considered, is how big could a robotaxi network throughout all of America, throughout Europe, throughout China, potentially? Tesla's kind of paved the way for robotaxi in China with that partnership with Baidu for the actual mapping of Tesla's FSD software. You have to partner with a Chinese company to do business in China with anything that has to do with AI. So Tesla's kind of paving that way, although it's probably going to come a little bit later this year after the US launch, or maybe even a 2026 thing. Japan even. Okay, Waymo is launching in Tokyo this year. Okay, there's a lot of different areas that Tesla could break into in 2025. Now, here's the deal. When the software is good enough to go anywhere, to do anything, with an intervention rate roughly 1 in every 20,000 miles, which Waymo was at about 1 in every 17,000 miles when they launched, then Tesla's going to be able to go anywhere and do robotaxis literally anywhere. It's going to be very easy to get regulatory approval. There will be people monitoring Tesla rides on computer screens and on big monitors like Waymo has. For those one-off edge case scenarios, you don't want driverless vehicle getting stuck at an intersection somewhere and blocking traffic or doing something stupid, right? There's always going to be that risk of that happening, probably for many, many years to come. But again, Tesla and Waymo are very different. Tesla will be able to launch in any city that will allow it, okay? It's more just getting the regulatory approval at that point. Waymo doesn't seem to have an issue getting the regulatory approval. It doesn't seem to have an issue getting cities to allow robotaxi. Miami's coming, if I recall, in 2025 as well. Again, Tokyo, other cities, just Waymo has to go out and actually map those cities. Tesla will be able to launch, when it does launch robotaxi, in many, 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 many different cities and in different states, okay? So, again, as Elon kind of guided for in the last conference call, for 2 states, for California and Texas to have robotaxis operational this year, that could be as high as 10 states, okay? You could see cities in New York and cities in Florida and Nevada and potentially Colorado and Seattle and California and Arizona and maybe some others allow robotaxis to be operational. Okay, now it's going to be like a city by city thing to get this approved, but it's kind of like a snowball or domino effect, right? Cities don't want to be left behind by new technology for investments in their local areas. So there is kind of, once it starts, a push to get this technology in new places, okay? Tesla's going to be able to do that dramatically faster, like multitudes faster, 10, 20, 30x faster than Waymo, because Tesla did the hard work up front. Tesla did the training work and, getting a neural net system up front, and that pays dividends on the back end. And we are about to see those dividends in 2025. Now, that is the moment in which the investment community will realize, oh my gosh, we have been downplaying robotaxi's potential from the start, okay? You're actually going to see a lot of pressure on Uber, I think, in 2025. Like, if you were long Uber, I would be pretty concerned about that unless Tesla and Uber find a way to make a partnership, which I think does kind of make sense for both companies at this point. Uber has the people on it, the big platform to get people inundated with Tesla's Robotaxi. And Tesla's obviously going to have the vehicles and the software to make Robotaxi available. So, I mean, we'll see what happens with Uber. They need a partnership with Tesla because Tesla is coming hot and heavy in 2025. And again, that's when the investment community will realize the potential of the Robotaxi. You think Tesla's valuation's extreme today? You have not seen anything yet. Now, that's the first kind of ChatGPT moment that is coming in 2025. The second ChatGPT moment that could be coming in 2025, which I think is a possibility, although I think that's more like a 2026 thing, is Optimus. Now, Optimus seems very far away for most Tesla investors, okay? Most Tesla investors are like, yes, Optimus is going to be a big deal, but it's not going to be a big deal anytime soon. It could be, though. Tesla could make more production on, or more progress on Optimus than we believe, and that is an upside surprise as well next year. And like, these are not small things. These are change the world kind of endeavors, Robotaxi and Optimus. And I mean, it's hard to put a limit on Tesla's valuation with Robotaxi and Optimus. Like, depending on your time horizon, there's kind of unlimited growth in these areas, at least for like decades, it feels like. Okay, like, are you really gonna cap Robotaxis at, you know, like half of America? Or it's like impossible to model out what Robotaxi would look like. Besides, we know it would be a colossal number. Okay, there's billions of taxi rides every year. Okay, billions and billions just in America, let alone the rest of the world. Okay, and what about Optimus? I mean, there's almost 9 billion people in the world, and everyone could benefit from Optimus bots. Like, I do your housework. I mean, take care of your old family member, watch your kiddos. I would, man, give me an Optimus bot. I'll take one right now. Help me watch these kiddos. That'd be cool. It's kind of weird. They look a little too like human-like. I would feel more comfortable with like R2-D2. I ain't even gonna lie. A big like cylinder thing is more up my alley because I'm weird, I guess. But there is such a large opportunity there. You can't put a limit on Tesla's valuation. It's very much open to interpretation, and the valuation is with the beholder, okay? I already believe Tesla's a $5 trillion company. Now, when does Wall Street realize that? You know, it could be a lot sooner than most people think, especially when you consider profitability. The profitability aspect of Tesla could explode in 2026. Now, here's the catch. It's 2025. By about midpoint 2025, people are going to be looking out to 2026. Wall Street is typically looking out about 12 months. Okay, that's why if you're a long-term investor, you can do very well because Wall Street only looks out about 12 months. Okay, so by midpoint 2025, we're going to be thinking about what 2026 is going to look like. Okay, and as long as things go as planned with Robotaxi and developments on Optimus, profitability could really explode next year. So say Wall Street is expecting Tesla's profitability could, you know, double next year, right? As far as an EPS basis. Now, on the high side, investors are expecting about $8 some change for EPS. On the low side, investors expect like $2.50. There is a huge swing here with a median EPS target full year 2025 at $4.41. Let's assume you come in at about $5 for this year and assume you could come in at $10 or so for next year. Okay, Tesla's currently at about 100 times 2025 multiple, okay? But assuming profitability could double by full year 2026, assuming by the end of 2025, that is kind of Wall Street's expectations. By the end of 2025, heading into 2026, if Wall Street's expecting $10 of EPS full year 2026 at 100 times multiple, which is the current multiple, Tesla could be $1,000 stock by the end of 2025. That's where things get crazy, let alone if the multiple expands because the trajectory of growth expands. Like, think about it like this. If Wall Street expects a 100% jump in profitability in 2026, and then a 100% jump in 2027 as the Robotaxi network really launches and gets to somewhere around $20 of EPS by 2027, times 100 times multiple would be a $2,000 stock by the end of 2026. Okay, some of these numbers can start to get crazy based on expected profitability. So, that's why I have a $900 price target for Tesla stock. It's really about $945 by the end of 2025. I do believe there will be a ChatGPT moment, and I do think EPS estimates for 2026 are going to explode higher. And when they do, it's very hard to limit Tesla's valuation, because who's to say that multiple couldn't go to 150? I mean, if you're assigning a PEG ratio to that, with let's say Tesla grows 100%, I mean, PEG ratio on that's going to be very low. It's going to be 1.5, right? Price divided by earnings divided by growth. So you say Tesla's $945 stock, price divided by earnings, which say that could be about $10 in 2026, divided by growth, you're less than a 1 peg. You're at a 0.94 peg, even with a multiple that could be at 100, okay, because of that growth. So that's where things get crazy for Tesla. Now, there are some risk factors to be considered in 2025. There's 3 of them distinctly. Okay. Number 1, do we go into a recession? Okay. Now there's good and bad to this. If the economy weakens, that's obviously negative. But if the economy weakens, the Fed's going to cut rates a lot more, which could be positive for Tesla. I think maybe a mix of the two could be good. Maybe some weakness in the economy, more rate cuts could be positive. You don't want too much weakness, and you certainly don't want a recession. So that's risk factor number 1. I don't think that's something to be too concerned with at this very moment. Things will change. Data will change. We had manufacturing PMIs come in today that were really good. Okay. That's number 1. Number 2 is a resurgence in inflation. I don't think under Trump 2.0, we're going to have an inflation issue. I think inflation will surprise to the downside, and I think that's part of the bull thesis for Tesla. Okay, inflation coming in lower than expected will allow the Fed to cut rates more, and that will allow maybe even more multiple expansion. We're trading at 100 times multiple today with 10-year Treasury yields at 4.6%. 10-year Treasury yields come back down to like 3.6% where they were right before the Fed cut rate September 18th. You could look at a multiple at 120, 125, 150x. Again, assuming Wall Street expects profitability to jump a lot next year, which I do think by the end of 2025, that will be the expectation. The PEG ratio actually will be very low for Tesla. Not very low, but like reasonable alongside like an Apple or something. So that's definitely another risk factor. I'm personally not concerned about that. I know some people are. I'm not concerned about that. And number 3 is tariffs. Okay. Not just tariffs because of inflationary aspects, but tariffs could hurt the economy if they're too broad, if they're too large. that could be an issue. And that's an issue that we will face around January 20th. Wall Street will start to be this weighing mechanism between, do we look at Trump's good business policies, or do we consider more the negative tariff policies? That's why it's going to be really important, what happens with tariffs. Now, Tesla has positioned their business in a way that they really can't be hurt by tariffs too much. They could be hurt by China imposing tariffs on things that leave China, right? Like, because Tesla builds Teslas in China. Some of those do go to Europe, okay? If China were to impose a restriction on Tesla, that could be a problem, okay? Is that going to happen? I don't know. Ultimately, I don't think tariffs are going to be this big bad thing that we should be super afraid of. I think we've kind of already priced in a lot of tariff risk, okay? Meaning that if we get like a 10% tariff across the board for China, the markets might actually rip on that, okay? Because we've already kind of priced in that we could see something worse than that. I don't think Trump wants to end the bull market. I don't think Trump wants to crash the economy or crash the stock market. Just my opinion, okay? So I think we're going to be pleasantly surprised, to say the least, by the tariff situation next year. And I think that could actually be a positive catalyst for markets. But in the event that Trump is reckless and does want to crash the markets, which, again, very low likelihoods of that, in my personal opinion, that would be a risk factor. And these are the three biggest risk factors that I see for next year, none of which I'm super concerned with. I don't think inflation is going to be an issue. I don't think the economy is going to weaken to the point that we start to price in a recession. Obviously, those things would be very negative for Tesla. And I don't think Trump is going to, inflict economically damaging tariffs, right? Because that starts a tariff war with China, and that's not good for American business. That's not good for the consumer. So, I really think there's gonna be a raging bull market in 2025. I don't think it's gonna be in big tech though. I think the AI appliers are the true winners next year, like a Tesla. Tesla could be the best performing stock in the S&P 500 next year, or this year. I'm still in 2024 mentality, but in 2025. And I also think cyclical, small caps, and value, these are going to be the names that also excel in 2025 versus mega cap tech. I think especially when Tesla has its quote unquote chat GPT moment, its big AI moment where Wall Street starts to realize what Tesla could become, you're really going to see some pressure on big tech because nobody can afford to miss Tesla. It's kind of like Nvidia. Everyone said, well, we can't afford to miss AI. We can't afford to not be in Nvidia. It's going to be one of those same situations for Tesla. New technologies, the size and scale of humanoid robots and robotaxis do not come around every day or every decade for that matter. Maybe like once a decade or once every 2 decades. And Tesla, yeah, that's an opportunity you cannot afford to miss as a fund manager. And that's why I think, there could be a lot of ways to justify Tesla even at $1,000 per share, right? By the end of this year, because of the path of expected growth. This is personally why I'm buying as many shares as Tesla as I possibly can. Okay, you don't have to agree with that. Obviously, you don't have to agree with that, and I don't think you should. I think you should take in this information and find what is reasonable to you and go with it. This is what is reasonable to me. Okay, now obviously you could have a lower base case, maybe $600 by the end of this year is your expected value for Tesla. That's still really damn good. I just think you're going to have this realization moment from fund managers and on Wall Street that's going to send Tesla a lot higher than that. Again, just my opinion. Let me know what you guys think about this down below in the comment section. And really, I think at this point, the only thing that could derail this are the three big risk catalysts. Tariffs that are too aggressive from Trump that starts a trade war. That's obviously going to crash the markets. That's not a good situation. The economy that goes into recession. That's obviously not a good situation either. Or inflation that really re-ramps again. I don't think that's going to happen either. So let me know what you guys think about this down below in the comment section. Ladies and gentlemen, have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.